Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. By the time you're watching this, Halloween will have passed by, but we are continuing our theme of spooky things, things that frighten us.
Tales Halloween Eve that we're recording.
Today is Halloween Eve. Yes. Tales of horror, tales of suspense, tales of mystery, things that make our skin crawl. What scares us, and today.
Yeah, not to fill you with terror, but Rory has not transformed into another person. This is our special guest this week is going to be Ryan Gutierrez, who is my artist on File 13. He's actually, at this point, I consider more of a co-creator because of how much he's added from the art end to the book, and just
thank you.
How much inspiration I've drawn. Like I've told Ryan this before in the past, but just like characters he's drawn that he's given so much life to, that I'm like, oh, that's just like a background character, but I want to do something with that character and make that into somebody who shows up later on, just because of like how much personality his stuff has. I've talked about Ryan on the show in the past. Yeah. I think if I haven't, I love how much life and energy and power his illustrations have. But Ryan is here because he also has a book he's doing right now that's in the middle of a Kickstarter that just started, that's being really successful.
Yep.
Already kickstarted. So if you order it, you're going to get it for sure. Ryan, if you want to talk about Black Marrow, that would be totally awesome.
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me. It's a lot of fun already. Like in the 5 minutes of conversation I had with these guys before we started, I instantly liked Scott, and I'm sorry, what's the other gentleman's name that I just met?
Jim.
Oh, Jim. Oh, they're talking about me.
And you were Dan. Dan was it? Yeah. I would love it. I would love it if after all that I'm like, your name was Dan, right?
Dan. Make me look bad, like I'm just talking you up and I don't know who you are.
Thanks, chum.
Yeah, I think I've seen you. I've seen conventions. Yeah. You were underneath the stage one time. This is my book. This is Black Marrow. It is a graphic novel, 84 pages. I like to do this game whenever I advertise it, where I just open a random page and show off the art. And it's just like
violence and bloodshed.
Yeah, it's definitely a guy getting his head punched off by a werewolf.
That's good.
So a little bit about me. I'm a professional comic artist. I've been doing it for like 12 years at this point, maybe a little more. And while I've been working on client work and doing storyboards for advertising, I've been working on things like this in the wings, in the darkness, until it was ready to release. And then I sprung my Kickstarter on the world, and yeah, thankfully it got funded first day, and now we're moving towards tripling the goal this week, I think. Nice. And a lot of it's thanks to Dan and his help, and people like him who have just been really supportive, and people like you that have me on and let me talk smack for a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I'm ready to get into some Bigfoot, because this is the subject. Cryptids are a thing I'm very into, so I know a fair amount. I'm fairly educated as anyone can be on this topic. Yeah, I don't have my tweed jacket is in the other room.
You're not
your elbow patches.
You're not basing your education on watching Mountain Monsters. Sorry.
It's based largely on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah, it's a really obscure intellectual
YouTube
source.
Educated.
You know what?
What?
You know what? We didn't plan that that Ryan would be here this week. It just kind of happened, and he happened to have a book on that's about a cryptid. So
good timing.
Was not our intention to be this organized.
Yeah, right.
That to be clear.
Don't tell him that, Jim. You had a chance to get away with it. Scott clean.
Totally seems like we
have
awesome
a veneer of professionalism.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The show looks much slicker than it actually is right now.
Before we forget, I want Ryan tell everybody where to find you, Kickstarter, and what do they search?
And we'll put all sorts of links in the description.
Yeah, it's just Black Marrow on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And it's if you just Google it, it's the first thing that shows up, and I'm sure you guys will drop a link. It's my first ever Kickstarter campaign. I plan on doing a bunch because this one was successful. So now I just want to do a bunch of comics on there because I love drawing comics. And a quick run through of Black Marrow. It's about he's a gunslinger lawman who happens to be cursed with the aspect of the wolf. So he's kind of a werewolf character who uses his powers of darkness to fight other monsters and vampires. And the first graphic novel is about him rescuing a child from a haunted castle full of vampires. So that's a pretty straightforward plot.
Elevator pitch.
Yep, there it is.
And Black Marrow's one word, right? Just
it's one word, Black
short.
Marrow.
Yeah.
And it's the whole idea was that it takes place in this alternate version of the Wild West where there's ghouls and demons everywhere. So it's kind of like how dark fantasy is basically medieval Europe, and you put fantasy on top of it. I did that exact same thing, but I did it with the turn of the century Wild West. That's basically
nice.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what you did with Steam Patriots, kind of like just kind of making a steampunk origin story and setting it in the American Revolution. So I always like that kind of stuff that's kind of historical, but kind of turns it on its head a little and just kind of looks at it from a different, or takes something that's really familiar, like Victorian England, but actually takes all those elements and kind of throws it into something totally unfamiliar like the Wild West.
Yeah, it's really there's something about that that's really inviting, right? It's like taking history, especially if you love history, which anybody who knows history loves history, and you just kind of look at it, you kind of turn it like 20 degrees in one direction and you get a totally different view of it,
Yeah, no, it's I mean, even File 13 has its origins with like Percy Fawcett and the City of Z and all that, so it's like there's just like that whole like hook of like something historical, and then okay, let's take that little like seed and like make something really cool out of it if we can. But hopefully, as much as I love that kind of stuff, everyone else does. It's like that's the goal.
Yeah,
the four of us plus we're all happy with our stories, and we're
I'm just sure everyone else knows about it. We could have a whole show about trying to stand up above the white noise of everyone producing stuff. Like Ryan and I were talking about that before.
Well, we're talking about cryptids today.
Yeah, I know. Yes, we're already off topic, and we haven't even started.
Ryan, and I'm pointing on my screen. Ryan's over here, but when people watching, they don't get the multi-screen view, so I'm pointing at like the wall. But
for anyone watching at home, I'm standing right behind you, actually.
Okay. Ryan, you're doing a great job on Kickstarter. That's awesome. Okay, so werewolf, we said mythological creature, cryptid, yes.
What defines a cryptid then? Is a werewolf a cryptid? Like what? I don't even. Ryan, you're the resident expert on cryptids. Professor Ryan, what would you say to what it is?
I feel like I should say I'm actually not an expert, but I actually kind of want to lean into this because it sounds like a lot of fun. Let me get my pipe out.
Yeah.
From what I understand, a cryptid is any animal that we can't prove exists, but that people have seen. So like a werewolf, meaning a person who turns into a wolf, it's like that's probably, I don't know if that's a cryptid, but the idea of like the dog man is definitely a cryptid. He actually has a pipe for this.
He wants to be professorial.
We're discussing.
You learn
I'm here to talk to you about my
everything.
Like El Chupacabra would definitely be a cryptid, right? Because it's an animal that hasn't been seen, or has been seen, but there's no definitive evidence for it to exist.
But if the Chupacabra was like Paul Giamatti, who turned into the Chupacabra, then it's no longer cryptid, then it's just a pitch for a movie.
Which I would
write that down. Write that down.
Like that's happening.
How many pipes do you have?
Huh?
I know, there's like 4 pipes so far. What's happening?
Did you show the space pipe?
Space pipe.
I feel like I'm at a Cher concert, like he's changing his costume every few minutes.
This is my favorite pipe.
This is going to show up when we make a sci-fi movie.
Hold it up close.
Space pipe.
Space pipe.
Aluminum
cool.
Space pipe. Yes, 50s retro.
Also kind of, I love 1950s retro futurism. I love that look.
Yes, it's like so not on
just so everybody's aware, Scott's pipe is a cryptid. We have no actual evidence that it is.
I saw it.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
So cryptids are generally in the Chupacabra, Bigfoot. I lived in the Pacific Northwest for a little while, very briefly. I would not say I'm an expert, but the Kushtaka Kaa was one that interested me. The otter people, shape changers, I like that.
Is that
one.
what the Kushtaka Kaa were? What were they?
Kushtaka Kaa were the otter people, shape changers.
Those are the shape changers,
and they can be otter people, they can be otters, they can be people. And from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, they will try to draw people into the water to kill them, like otters do, because otters are little demons. They would
so adorable.
They are not. They would pretend to be a loved one. It would be a dead loved one, but a loved one that needed help in the water.
An otter pretends to be a dead loved one.
Yes, and then they would pull the people into the water.
I feel like there'd be a much easier way to lure people into the water.
Well,
if you're I guess if you're an otter, you're kind of limited in what you can kind of
but
do.
if you can change shape, change and look. But there's a great look up everyone out there. Look up Thomas Bay. I don't know. I'm saying that. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Michael Bay.
No, not Michael Bay.
Don't look at Michael Bay.
In the southeast Alaska that had a big avalanche and a whole village was killed. Lots of people died a long time ago. But then there's a story of these two prospectors out there, and then these hairy like monkey people, and I don't know if they're a Kushtaka. They were beset upon.
Is it Kushtaka Kaa or a Kushtaka Kaa?
Not it's Kushtaka Kaa.
Every time you say it, I keep hearing a Kushtaka Kaa. Oh, it's a Kushtaka Kaa.
And Kushtaka Kaa.
Okay, I got.
Sorry, Kushtaka.
Okay.
That was an interesting lore. While we had a strange occurrence of being out in the middle of nowhere and one of the oars of our rowboat being taken in the middle of the night. I mean, in the morning, I went to get the boat and it had been pulled up on shore, and one of the oars, big wooden oar, brass oar pin, gone.
Wow.
And there's no one around, which immediately made me think someone's around. The gears going like, who's out there? Who's messing with me? And the dog wouldn't have taken it. We had a dog, and the dog. Yeah. It was weird. So that's one of our weird stories. That's my one
That's creepy.
And of course, we got back to Ketchikan, and everybody said, "Oh, yeah, Bigfoot. Bigfoot took it." Okay.
Maybe. I mean, you ever heard of Lloyd Pye?
Don't think so.
No. So he was a writer. He wrote a book. He died a few years ago, but he had a book called "Everything You Know Is Wrong," and there's a whole segment about Bigfoot, and he describes that with this utter certitude that Bigfoot is definitely real. And one of the ways that he arrives at this is he starts talking about how pandas were once cryptids, because it was a myth that a panda was even a thing, and people were like, "That's crazy! Like a bear that has black and white stripes, you're high." And then Teddy Roosevelt, I think, and his sons were hunting in the woods, in China or something, and they actually shot one. They brought it back, and they proved that it was real. And then people were like, "Oh, whoops!" So and he was using that as essentially Bigfoot is just the next animal that we haven't proven yet. But then there were instances historically where people, one guy did shoot a Bigfoot teenager, and they had it encased in ice for a while. And then the body ended up getting taken, I think, by the Smithsonian or something. But there's photos of it, and it was making tours around the country. It was literally the body of a Bigfoot, and it's in his book. It's like he has photos of it, and it's really interesting because he talks about scientifically where Bigfoot could have come from and how basically it was, he's like, if you look at the evolution of humans and the way we come from apes, he's like, the idea of I forgot what the actual name of a Bigfoot is in terms of the scientific name, but basically evolutionarily it has a lot in common with the apes from which we descend, moving up that line. It has more theoretical bones in common with its body than we do with our predecessors. We're the ones who are odd. We're the leap forward. But Bigfoot fits very nicely in that string of animal to human spectrum. And so he theorized that they were the main primates of North America and a lot of these other places. But then when we came on the scene, Homo sapiens were so much smarter with our ability to use tools really sophisticatedly that we ended up killing so many of them that they basically went into hiding, and they kind of learned not to approach humans.
Interact with the Homo sapiens anymore.
Yeah, because we're just really violent, and we were kind of territorial. But it's an interesting theory.
Violent and territorial,
just like Scott.
Yeah, Scott, the bane of so many people is Scott with his 14 pipes.
That he doesn't share with anyone. Territorial nature.
Stay away.
Just the cloud of smoke is how you know it's Scott's territory.
That's his barrier.
It works.
What was that?
Scott's also a cryptid.
I see him, but I'm the only one, so.
He's never been seen outside that box.
No, here.
I don't have any interesting stories. I was on a mountain once late at night when I shouldn't have been. We kind of were coming down and just kind of lost our way. It wasn't pitch black darkness. It was getting dark, and it's kind of fascinating. Just I don't know if you guys have ever just been out in the darkness without any sort of light sources in the woods, but it's frighteningly dark. Yeah. It's just it's insane how dark it is.
And it gets quieter than you might think.
Yeah, yeah, and like I never felt like anything was watching me or anything, but it's like that if anything was going to happen, that would have been a cool time for it to happen. But
cool time for
I'm not going to make up a lame story just to be cool that nothing happened. And I thought I saw some eye shine a couple of times. Probably it was like a fox or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But nothing really awesome. I didn't hear any huffing or tree knocking or anyone throwing rocks at me or anything like that. Nothing cool.
No,
until I came up behind you and clubbed you.
Yeah,
That's different. I wasn't there. I'm just kidding. Mostly.
That's weird. Bigfoot, Kushtaka Kaa up in the northwest. What else we got?
The Michigan Dog Man.
Michigan. Oh, that's a good one.
Mothman.
Mothman. Oh my God, the Mothman's fascinating.
Yeah, the Y-Files episode.
Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like Wi-Fi. Have you ever watched Y-Files, Ryan?
No, but I think I've heard of it. Is that who's the host of that? I think I know who that is.
I don't remember what his name is.
No.
He has the little goldfish that sits in the tank and kind of
Hecklefish.
heckles what he's talking about. But it's
Okay,
really well
I
done.
actually have not seen this. I wouldn't remember the goldfish.
Not to go completely off track, but like he presents the story as you know it, and then he talks about ways that it could have been misinterpreted or what he thinks like the reason for it being is. And sometimes he just gets to the end and he's like, I don't really have a good rational scientific way to explain this. But like a lot of times he does, like that whole Davilov pass in Russia.
Oh yeah.
When all those people kind of like got snowed in and like they found later in the spring.
A Yeti got him.
But then like he kind of talked about it and I forget what his reasoning was for it. But it's interesting, and we'll put a link to it.
Well, the one for the Jersey Devil, the explanation for the Jersey Devil is pretty interesting. Have you ever heard that?
No.
As someone from Jersey, I remember hearing that story told many times. But basically, the whole myth of the Jersey Devil that people know is there was a family who had a child that was born, and the kid came out looking like a demon with a tail and wings, and they hid him in this cabin, and then they abandoned him, and then he slowly transformed over time without any human influence into this thing, and now he roams the woods of the New Jersey. But the story behind why that myth came about is really interesting. It was supposedly that it was around the time of the American Revolution was brewing up, and there were rumors of different people in that area who were basically spies reporting to England about the unrest. And when someone was potentially a spy, I think it was it Jefferson? It might have been. He was a Jersey guy, right? No, he wasn't him. Who was it? Anyways, someone else will know, I'm sure. But that he basically cooked up a rumor about this family as like a way of defaming them because he was worried that they were basically working for the British. That was, and that they had a child that came out with a tail and all that stuff.
That in Steam Patriots.
That's a theory.
Write that for Steam Patriots episode or book.
The Halloween special.
Oh yeah.
I remember hearing something about the Jersey Devil and like Civil War troop like firing cannons at it. There's always like there seems to be like links between that and like different war times and everything. I was trying to find that story again, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. I was like, maybe I imagined it, but I don't know.
No, but there is a link. There is a link between wartime stuff. There's definitely a link between wartime stuff and cryptid sightings in general. Like in Vietnam, the rock apes and all that stuff, like when they saw Bigfoot out in the jungle of Vietnam, there's a bunch of stories of American soldiers getting like literal rocks thrown at them from Bigfoot and like reporting to their COs, like, the brass back home being like, yeah, we were supposed to attack Viet Cong, but these giant apes came in and just started throwing stones at us. So we left. Whoops, sorry guys.
Even more recently, that Kandahar giant in Afghanistan, right?
I know that one.
Oh, that one's
that's such a good story.
In the cave, like, the soldiers went into this cave or something, and there was like a giant in there or something, and they exchanged fire. They didn't exchange fire because that giant obviously didn't shoot back.
But he killed like two of their guys though, right? I think the giant, he came out. It was like a humanoid giant, but it corroborated with a bunch of stories about supposed prehistoric giant humans who had like flat teeth because they were herbivores, like some bigger, flatter teeth, and that they all had like reddish hair. But it was like a 10-foot guy, and this is corroborated by like 3 different soldiers who were there who said like, yeah, he like literally came out and stabbed one of us with a big stick and like threw him up in the air. And then the rest of us just opened fire on him until we killed him. And then the government came, took the body into a chopper. We never heard about it again. We told never to talk about it. Like, and it's like literally 3 different guys from that same unit were talking about the same thing. And I was like, now I think it's real. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff out there.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times, like with like UFOs and everything, it's always like people that have like really have nothing to gain by like making crap up. It's just like
more to lose, really.
For the fame, but yeah, they do
like,
become a pariah. They become
a lot of, like, especially like some of them, like in the military or the police or anything like. You always hear about pilots not want. Well, there's the scene in Close Encounters when they encounter the UFO in the beginning. Like, you want to report a UFO, and like, no, we don't want to report anything. And like everyone, like back then in the early 70s, no one wanted to talk about it or say anything. You'd be looked at in a negative light for reporting it. But
I have a question.
It's a little more socially acceptable now.
Yeah,
you still kind of get weird looks.
Thanks to ancient aliens.
Yes.
Well, didn't the government just release like a didn't they say like they finally published all of their findings on
they published
like all the UFO reports that that have been like recorded and officially documented?
Yeah, they released those 2 videos for sure where they said we don't know what these are.
Right. Yeah, they've said
document what they are.
We don't know what. Yes.
Which is kind of phenomenal that just kind of like flew, no pun intended, under the radar.
Yep.
With with
nobody cared.
With like them saying like these are things that are out there. They're definitely there. We don't know what they are. And it's like, oh wow, that should be huge. And
it should be. There was the whole you ever hear Stephen Greer, that guy who he was a part of the whole disclosure thing to get people in government to talk about that stuff. He said back in like 2011, he said the government had a plan to do gradual disclosure where they would just piecemeal little bits of information out so that people wouldn't freak out. And it worked. They've been doing it since like 2014.
Yeah.
And now it's we're going to be 2025. And they basically have all but said like, yeah, aliens are real. We don't know what to do, but they're there. Look, they're there. Okay. Like, go back to work, And it was so gradual that we're all okay with it. And like, that was the plan because they were afraid apparently he says they were afraid if they came out with it all at once, there would be a panic. But I think people are mentally ready for it. We've been like conditioned to be like okay with the idea of aliens.
Blame Orson Welles.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He caused all that problem.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
At what point does something go from like a cryptid to like a mythological creature? For example, I don't think anybody would say a dragon is a cryptid.
Right.
But I mean, there's like is it because it's disproven that they don't exist in some ways, or like what I guess is the difference between something that's mythological or fantastical and what's a cryptid?
I guess. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it's mythological, I think it's no longer around. Maybe if we did have some sort of dragon creatures out there.
Well, maybe. I mean, it could also be a matter of like supernatural attributes to it. I know some people attribute like supernatural powers to Bigfoot, that he can fly, turn invisible, and do crazy stuff. But by and large, I think cryptids are more grounded in reality, right? You have the Loch Ness Monster, which could just be a big sea serpent that lives in the water. You have Bigfoot, who could just be like an Australopithecus that is hiding in the mountains. You have a Chupacabra that could just be a weird mutated dog. And so like there's these things that are just kind of rooted in reality, and they have like a basis there. Whereas dragons can fly and breathe fire and do all this crazy stuff, and that makes it more fantastical than, I think, like you were saying, than something grounded in reality that you could really see being real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think like I don't think anyone that I know of is alleging that dragons exist or that they could be found somewhere. It's I think with dragons, like, I mean, I know that's just an example, Jim, but like with dragons, you can kind of see the line of where they were created artistically, where it became a myth, like a symbol of something in our stories. Whereas I just feels like there's so many people who've seen Bigfoot, that it's like, to me, it's more practical to believe that it's real, because you're like, well, yeah, I mean, like, it's probably just an animal that's really skittish, like doesn't like to be around people,
Well, just say I was talking to some naturalist at one point, and he was talking about how, like, he's like, yeah, if you've been in the woods, you've probably been near a black bear, but they're really good at hiding, and they'll just stand up behind a tree or whatever, and you won't see them, and they will wait for you to pass and then go about their business. And it's like what if Bigfoot has the intelligence or close to the intelligence of a human, and they don't want to be seen? Like, how good could they be at? I mean, the Pacific Northwest is huge. Well, like just driving through the Adirondacks,
the swath of North America, I mean, the Canadian wilderness. Well, I mean, American wilderness too. But I mean, if you
go Alaska down to Portland, Oregon, and
across the Hudson Bay,
and then the Adirondacks and all that stuff, it's just vast wilderness.
Yeah. Well, in that book by Lloyd Pye, something he said that always stuck with me. He said, "We think we're masters of all we survey, but we're not even. We haven't even surveyed all that we claim to be masters of."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Which
true.
is like that has stayed in my head for like 15 years because I'm like, wow. Because it's just like we conquered the world, we think, but then there's like entire areas of civilization or not civilization where we're like, yeah, we don't go there. And it's like, of course, there's probably all kinds of weird, crazy stuff there.
That's not even like, not even thinking about the ocean, right? Which is like completely.
Oh my god, yeah.
Territory.
We're probably needing to wrap up. Once more before we go, Ryan, Kickstarter.com. Go for
Black Marrow, one word.
Yeah, find Black Marrow on Kickstarter. It's an 84-page graphic novel. Going to open up to another random page. Oh my goodness! Look at
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Nice double-page spread.
It's printed on really high quality paper. It is written, drawn, colored, penciled, inked by this guy, this one person.
It's finished. It's finished,
totally,
which is clutch because you're not supporting something that might happen and could fall through.
It's finished and it's fully backed. So if you back it, you're going to get it too.
So go back.
And I'm already on book 2. I'm like 25 pages into the art for book 2.
Sweet.
So you can get a digital copy. There's a hard copy, which is this. There's also a sketch cover where I will do personalized art for you. And there's only like maybe 15 spots left for that. So get on that, guys. Yeah. And we're about to add a retailer tier because I'm getting requests for retailer tiers.
So. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I have to figure out the math of that, but that's because to figure out the math of this was the biggest challenge. Was making sure I charged the right amount, not too much, not too little.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that was a challenge with File 13. I was thinking about just distribution and like when Diamond was in the schedule, I'm like, how much do I have to pay for each unit so that Diamond pays their share, so that the retailers can make their money. So like, you have to figure out what price is fair for a retailer so he can still make money, but you can still.
The Diamond Demon, you got to feed it.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you guys.
Let's wrap up here. Everybody out there, like, share, subscribe, all those things. We'll put links down below. Watch our past shows if you want to hear about other tales of horror and fright. Go back it. Black Marrow right now. Do it now, and we'll see you.
Don't black back.
Don't black. You know what? Is that everything? We'll definitely have Ryan back. He did an okay job. We're moderately pleased.
No, I think we're going to replace Rory with Ryan. I think Rory's definitely.
Sorry, Rory.
My goal is always to moderately please the people.
I'm gonna text Rory right now. You're done. It's been fun.
I'll text him.
You're very adequate. That's all right. That's it. I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah, stop.
Right, good day.
Thank you all, and have a great one.
Bye.
Recording stopped.